if you're here, most likely you're either thinking about a divorce, going through one, you're already divorced, or even transitioning out of a non-marital relationship. However, no matter where you are on the spectrum of that journey, one of the biggest misconceptions is how disruptive this experience can be. And here's the thing, even if it was the best choice, it doesn't mean that it hurts less. And you don't have to pretend to be okay. Neither do you have to be strong about what you're going through, because the truth of the matter is that it impacts you. It can impact you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, legally, relationally, and even professionally. And because of that, it is crucial to act accordingly. And so, what does this mean? This means that it is very important for you to be intentional about your next chapter going forward. And a huge part of that is recovering on purpose. And to help with that, I created a free audio guide that outlines 7 healthy ways to help you through this transition. And to access your free copy of that audio guide, then please head over to my website, tanyacarter.com/turning the page. Okay, that's tanyacarter.com/turning the page. And I will put a link down in the show notes. One of the things I always emphasize is that dissolving the relationship is half the battle. That's something that I say all the time. And many may ask, well, why is it only half of the battle? Right? Now, here's the thing, right? When I say it's half of the battle, let's not discount how brave that is, right? Because dissolving is bold and it's very, very courageous. Okay. So I'm not here to minimize that part. However, as we exit out, we have to consider the mental, the emotional, and even the physical burnout that you may have from this experience. And so, what does this mean when I'm referring to breakup burnout? Okay. Because it's important to know what it looks like as well as what it feels like. Because we live in this world, we live in this culture, we live in this society where pushing through is the common known mantra, right? And pushing through gets praised and it gets glorified. And here's what happens when you do stuff like this, right? When you're always in this energy of pushing through everything, we tend to think that if I keep going harder, then I can overcome whatever this is that I'm currently going through. And the problem with that is that if we don't really know what we're dealing with, we can mistake the symptoms. And this lack of awareness, it prevents us from identifying the real issue. And failure to do so leads to things such as a deeper mental, emotional, and even physical exhaustion. Because if you're unable to know what this looks like and feels like, it will lead to more stress. And what I find is that when we're always in this energy of pushing through, we become so disconnected from ourselves, where we are just unable to recognize the severity of our own exhaustion. And so, what I wanted to do before I give you the steps to recover, I want to give you 8 ways to identify breakup burnout in regards to what it can look like and feel like. All right. And so, one of the things that breakup burnout can look like and feel like is having a lack of energy. Right? It can look like having a lack of energy where you may feel extremely fatigued, where you may find yourself getting exhausted quicker than normal. Even if what you're getting is considered a good amount of sleep, you may wake up still feeling tired and even having difficulty getting out of the bed. Okay. Another thing on what breakup burnout can look like is that it can have physical signs. There's a physical side of breakup burnout, right? Where you may have headaches that you can't even explain where they're coming from, digestive issues, muscle tension, aches and pains, to even a change in appetite where you may not have an appetite or you may find yourself overly eating, to even getting sick more often, okay? It can also look like a decline in productivity. That's what it also can look like. It can look like a decline in productivity. Let's just say you have a strong work ethic, whether that's within the home to even your job or maybe even your business, and you find that your performance has taken a severe dip. Okay. It can look like that. It can also be tasks that you are so used to completing very effectively and with a level of quality. Now it just seems very overwhelming to do right now. A decline in productivity can look like having trouble meeting deadlines or getting anything done, to even trouble concentrating. All right. It can also look like emotional exhaustion, okay, where you just feel overwhelmed with emotions such as sadness, maybe anger, irritability, anxiety, hopelessness, helplessness, worthless, to even feeling powerless. There can also be some mental blockages, okay, where you're constantly ruminating about the relationship and what went wrong, to even having difficulty making decisions, maybe even worrying about the future, to even some cynical self perception about yourself, to what you think and what you believe and how you speak over yourself. It can also look like loneliness. When there's a level of burnout, detachment and isolation from others can take place. And you may find yourself not wanting to socialize, or you might even feel exhausted from socializing, which is something that normally doesn't happen for you. You may also feel like you have nothing to give to anyone right now. And it's not because you don't want to, it's just that you don't have the emotional capacity to do so. All right. It can also look like feeling demotivated. So let's just say the things that you once did and those things you once found enjoyable, you no longer just have the desire to do anymore. Okay. Daily responsibilities, they just start to feel like a burden and very challenging to complete. And you have things that you want to accomplish, but your lack of enthusiasm and energy to pursue them is not there. Okay. And it can also look like uncertainty. Breakup burnout can also look like uncertainty because relationship exits, whether it's a divorce or a breakup, also means change, right? Where you may have to move out. So guess what that involves? That involves a shift in your physical environment. It can look like a division of assets. And so there's a financial adjustment there. It can look like co-parenting, right? Where you have to put the kids and make them the priority above all else. And I'm going to tell you something, when emotions are very high, transitioning to co-parent can be a challenging thing to do. The routines and the responsibilities have shifted. The social dynamics change from your friends to even extended families. So these disruptions in terms of uncertainty can lead to things such as stress as well as burnout. Now, while stating these different factors on what it can look and feel like, it's not a definitive sign that you are experiencing burnout, okay? However, if you notice that some of these, if not all, have been consistent for you, then it's really crucial to acknowledge that you are under a level of significant stress. And if left unaddressed, unattended, and untreated, then the stress has the potential to escalate into severe burnout. Now, here's the kicker about burnout, because when we hear about burnout, we only hear it from maybe a professional perspective, such as maybe your work or even your business. But it is crucial to understand that you can become burnout from things that took place in your marriage or in your relationship that has caused a level of burnout for you. Okay. And here's a few things on where it can come from your relationship. Okay. It can come from things such as emotional stress that you may have been under during the duration of your relationship. It can also mean a recurrent, constant imbalance of effort that was displayed in the relationship. So let me give you an example. If one person was putting a substantial amount of effort and energy into the relationship than the other, that creates not only an imbalance, but even exhaustion. Because when this is the case, your needs will often go unmet, unnoticed, and very unsupported. Okay. It can also come from a relationship that was considered unsafe as well as unhealthy. And when that's the case, that can deplete all of your energy. It can come from the weight of adapting and adjusting to a new normal without that person, regardless of what the dynamic was when you were in that relationship. It can also come from consistent self-neglect that you have unknowingly practiced. I can't tell you how many times I meet people who say things such as, I don't know who I am, I lost myself, I stopped doing the things that I used to do. When that is ongoing, that can easily create a level of self-neglect. Burnout from a breakup can also come when you were in a relationship that had a consistent cycle of being in a fight, flight, or freeze state in your relationship. So let's just say if you was in a fight state all the time, that means whatever that threat that was going on in that relationship, the confrontation of that threat was very aggressive. Okay. If you were in a flight state all the time in your relationship, that means that you may find yourself always withdrawing from that perceived threat, or you might find yourself distancing to avoid any form of conflict or escaping through some form of distraction. If your state was always in a freeze response, then you may find yourself always feeling emotionally numb and doing things such as shutting down. And when it comes to the fight, flight, or even freeze responses, here's the thing, they can serve as a protective tactic. However, if this is frequently relied upon on how you function in your relationship, then that takes a severe toll on your well-being. And so the question is, how can I start recovering? What strategies can I put in place to support myself? And so what I wanted to do is that I want to give you 4 recovery steps that you can do to start transitioning out of this level of burnout into a place of balance in your life. All right. And so the first thing that you can start doing today is that you can start by checking in with yourself regularly throughout the day. That's the first step. The first step is to start checking in with yourself on a regular basis throughout the day. And here's what I mean when I say checking in with yourself, okay? This means to carve out some brief, intentional moments throughout the day so that you can get curious about yourself and deepen your self-knowledge about you, okay? And when you do things like this, like check in with yourself, this actually allows you to be attentive to our patterns, our behaviors, our feelings, as well as our thoughts and where they could be coming from. And if there is a way to reduce and eliminate what doesn't serve you. Okay. So this is where you want to take about 5 to 10 minutes, right? 3 times a day. Okay. And so to simplify that, let's just do it morning, afternoon, and evening. So we want to take 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, and 10 minutes in the evening, right? And to help with this, you can set this as an alarm on your phone. And when that alarm goes off, I want you to take some time. I want you to set your timer for 10 minutes. I want you to get a pen and a notebook, okay, and take a deep breath and ask yourself these 3 questions that I'm about to give you, okay? The first question that I want to give you, that I want you to ask yourself during this time is, how am I feeling right now? Right? That's the first question. How am I feeling right now as of this moment? And this is a question that we normally have maybe default responses to, especially when someone asks how we're doing. Like, think about it. When someone asks you how you're doing, you say, I'm good, I'm okay, I can't complain, right? I don't want you to do that. I challenge you to go beyond the surface level responses to help better understand the state that you're in, right? So are you sad? Are you disappointed? Are you drained? Are you confused? Are you embarrassed? Are you overwhelmed? Are you scared? Right? Let's give ourselves the gift of truth on how we really feel. Okay. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, where is this feeling coming from? Okay. Where is this feeling coming from? And this is where we want to pay attention to anything that contributes to how we're feeling. Is it a person? Is it a place? Is it an event? Right? Is it something that happened up to this point in our day? Okay. And doing this helps you gain greater insight on what's causing this feeling. Okay. Another thing I want you to ask yourself is, what can I do to feel calmer? Right? What can I do to feel calmer right now? So in other words, what can I do to reduce this feeling at this present moment? Okay. Is there a boundary that can be established? Will taking a brief walk outside help? Is there a song that really changes your mood and puts you in a different state, in a better state? What can you affirm over yourself in this moment? I always tell people, affirm yourself like you would someone you love. What can you speak or say over yourself? What can you read? Maybe you can take some deep breaths a few times to help calm your state. And maybe you can also ask yourself, what has happened today so far that I actually can be grateful for? That will shift your mood. Now, there are more questions that we can ask ourselves. However, the purpose in this step is to create a healthy habit of attending to you. Okay. And the reason why this is so important, because earlier I listed some examples on what burnout can look like and feel like, right? However, many will continue to push through. They will still attempt to push through, and you cannot push through this If anything, you actually have to do the opposite, and that's to slow down. And that can feel very odd and very awkward in the beginning. However, we cannot address anything if we don't acknowledge and understand it first. Okay. And so that's the very first step that you need to start doing. And that is to check in yourself regularly throughout the day. Okay. The second step that you can do is that you can allow yourself to seek the help you need. That's the second step. Allow yourself to seek the help you need. I would never deviate from this because I cannot emphasize this enough. Okay. Too often, I witness too many people suffer in silence. I witness too many people suffer longer than they need to. I see too many people attempt to figure it out by themselves, only to prevent them from recovering and moving forward. Okay. And when you're seeing and experiencing constant symptoms that is either considered burnout or even similar to burnout, then attempting to navigate that and confront it on your own is not a task that I would take on alone. I do not advise that. It doesn't matter how resilient you are. It doesn't matter if you've always been the person that everyone else goes to. It doesn't even matter if you pride yourself on being strong. Why? Because what you're experiencing right now is already taking a significant toll over your well-being and quality of life. And attempting to muster up the energy, think, find solutions on your own, and take action while being burnt out with no one to help you is overwhelming and counterproductive. Okay? And part of recovering is turning to the right people. Okay? Heavy on the words right people, because you have to be intentional on who you turn to. You do. Someone who you can trust and feel safe with. Someone who can offer guidance by helping you navigate the challenges that are contributing to this. And someone who can help you grow and move forward. And those can be different individuals, right? One could be a trusted friend that you can confide in from time to time. Another one could be a therapist to help you manage and reduce the current emotions and thoughts that you're experiencing. Another could be a coach to assist you with setting goals, creating action plans, and providing accountability and motivation as you move forward in your recovery journey. And so I challenge you to ask yourself, who do I need in this season to help me regain my strength, find clarity, and move towards a healthier and harmonized life? Okay. And this is really important. And for those who have difficulty getting help, because I know this can be a very hard thing and different for some people. But here's what I want you to say to yourself. I want you to repeat after me. Seeking help is a positive step toward my recovery. That's it. And know that that's what this is about. This is about you and doing what's best for you. And so there are certain seasons where you need other people to serve you. And so I recommend you to seek the help that you need. And so the third step that you can do to help recover is to reevaluate your priorities. So that's the third one. The third one is to reevaluate your priorities. It's important to know that if you're experiencing burnout or something similar, that is a sign that something in your life right now isn't working out. And we need to evaluate what that is. We have to. Maybe you're attempting to function in the same way before you got to this point. Maybe you're making everything be a priority when some of these things should be just optional. Maybe you're piling on more tasks and more responsibilities because although you feel exhausted, you actually may believe that this is what's required from you to keep going and pushing through. However, it is important to know that recovering isn't pushing yourself to the limit. Okay? It's about acknowledging your limits. And when you're able to identify your limits, you're actually taking back control. And when you're able to take back control, you begin to recognize what's important and what can wait. You start to understand and respect your capacity. You allow yourself to give it to someone else to handle. You recognize the support and the help you need, and you make it known. And you also become more empowered to say no so that you may say yes to your well-being. And so to reevaluate your priorities, here's what you can do. 3 simple things. The first thing you need to do is assess your current commitments. Okay? Make a list of your current responsibilities and activities. That's what I want you to do. I want you to make a list of all your current responsibilities and activities. And I want you to categorize them into different areas of your life, meaning that, is this commitment work related, family related, health related, social related? Like, let's get clear on what these commitments are. The next thing I want you to do after you assess your commitments is evaluate its importance. Okay? Like, for each commitment, I want you to ask yourself how important this is and what impact does it actually have on your life. The next thing I want you to do after we evaluate its importance, I want you to identify if these current commitments can be minimized, delegated, or eliminated altogether. Sometimes we think everything is a priority. And to be honest with you, it's not. And it's also important to know that, let's just say this is something that you've always done. That doesn't mean that you have to continue to do it. Somebody else can do it, or it's okay to say, you know what, this is a season right now that I cannot commit to this. I need to take care of my well-being. And so I need to say no to this. And so I want you to evaluate those commitments. Now, here's the kicker too. If you have difficulty doing this is where point number 2 is so important about getting the help you need. Because sometimes we may not see things as clearly right now because of what we're going through. So this is where you need a coach or a therapist or even both to help you identify what is important to you, what is priority for you this season, and what isn't. Okay. And so that's the third step. The third step is to reevaluate your priorities. The fourth and final step that you can take for recovery is to meet your basic needs. Okay. That's the fourth one. The fourth one is to meet your basic needs. Oftentimes when you're burnt out from a breakup, there's a high probability that your personal needs have been neglected and overlooked. Okay. And here's the thing. When you are in relationships, it is very common to prioritize the relationship and the needs of your partner over your own. I find it to be very common. And what happens is this leads to things such as self-neglect and a lack of attention, of self-care, and even self-focus. And when it comes to the care of you and meeting your needs in a season where you feel very exhausted, this can be a very daunting thing to do due to the mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion that you're experiencing. However, recovery is a process, right? Meaning that this doesn't happen overnight, and it takes time, and it also takes different routines and better habits. And one of those routines and habits is giving your body and mind the care and attention that it needs as well as what it deserves. Okay. And so some of the recovering self-care strategies can be, getting good quality sleep, to even maybe taking a nap during the day. All right. There may be a time where you may have to just, close your eyes for about maybe 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes to get a nap, to get that extra boost of energy. Okay. It can look like journaling. In step 1, I talked about checking in with yourself regularly, but I also mentioned to get a notebook and get a pen and start writing. And that can be the start of your journaling journey. It can also look like being outside or even going for a walk. And here's the thing, all you need is 10 minutes. You don't need a long time, because 10 minutes can really do a lot. Statistics show that being out for 10 minutes boosts your vitamin D levels. It boosts your mood and also boosts your self-esteem. Okay. It can also look like catching up with a friend or someone you haven't seen in a while. It can also look like drinking water and staying hydrated. It can look like meditation. You can go on YouTube and just find 5-minute meditations and just listen to that, so it can put you in a different state of mind. It can look like doing yoga. It can also look like eating the foods that feel good and fuel your body. Okay. And so if we're eating foods that makes us tired and very fatigued, we may need to find out, what does my body need for nourishment? It can look like taking a hot shower or even a bubble bath. It can look like reading. It can look like watching one of your favorite funny movies or TV shows. It can look like having some fun and get you a laugh in. And it really can be that simple. And I know in this season, if you feel burnt out, that may take a little more extra energy to do. Okay. And so know that, you know what, my body is a little imbalanced right now. And so it's going to take a little bit more for me to do what used to come easy. However, the more we do that, the more become our regular routine. Okay. And so that's the fourth one. The fourth one is to meet your basic needs. Now, here's the thing. I threw in a bonus one, y'all. I had to throw this one in because as I was writing out the content, I was saying to myself, they got to know this. They have to know this step. Okay. And this bonus one that I wanted to give you to help with your recovery is to remind yourself that you're doing the best you can. Okay, that's the fifth one. The fifth one is to remind yourself that you're doing the best you can. You know, feeling exhausted and feeling burnt out can make you feel like you're a failure. It can. It can make you feel like you're a failure. It can make you blurred on your life's direction. It can make you feel like that you can't do anything right or even anything properly. And it can also make you feel inadequate because maybe you're not functioning on the level that you've always functioned on. And what happens is if you stay in that state of thinking that you're not doing enough, that can disrupt your recovery. Okay. And it's important to be kind and gentle with yourself. It really is, because you got to think you've been through a lot, right? You've been through a lot. You've experienced a lot. You're navigating different emotions and thoughts. Your plans have changed. And depending on the dynamics of that relationship that you exit out of, you could be exiting out of something that was unhealthy or even toxic. And the residue of that, it takes time to recover from. And so give yourself some compassion, give yourself some grace while you're recovering, okay? Because this divorce that you're going through, the breakup that you're going through, it could have taken a toll on you. And I encourage you to remind yourself that with everything that's going on right now in my life, I am really doing the best that I can. Okay. And so I really do hope that these recovery steps are helpful for you, because burnout is real. Burnout is not just from a professional perspective, right? It can come from a lifestyle. And part of that lifestyle are our relationships. And when we are exiting out and we are transitioning out, we may think, wow, if I'm out of this relationship, I should be feeling a whole lot better. Now, don't get me wrong. You may be feeling relieved right now, but there may be some parts of you that may feel exhausted from what you've experienced. And so I encourage you to take these steps and start implementing those into your life. Okay. And so please make sure that you are following me on my social media handles. My Instagram is I am Tanya Carter. My Facebook is Tanya Carter. My YouTube is Tanya Carter. And I will put the link to all my social media handles down in the show notes. And also, please make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast so that you can receive notifications on when the next podcast will drop. And also leave a review. If you know that this podcast has been very, very helpful for you on your journey of navigating a divorce or even a breakup, then please head over to Apple and or Spotify to leave me a review. And last but definitely not least, share this information. If you know someone who is experiencing a level of exhaustion or even maybe burnout from the transitioning of their marriage and relationship, then please share this episode to them so that it may be a blessing for them. Okay. So thank you all again for tuning in with me this week. You all have a wonderful and an amazing week, and I will see you next time.